Go.
Hi, 6th grade. Welcome to Mini Math Lessons with Mrs. Mershman. Today we're talking about dividing a decimal number by another decimal number. I have two examples for you. In the first one, we are taking 1 5/10, so 1.5, and we're dividing it up by 2/10. The first step to dividing a decimal number by another decimal number is to take your divisor, which is what you are dividing by, and moving the decimal place over as many spaces as it takes to make a whole number. So what I usually say is move it all of the way to the right. So that takes 2/10, and it turns it into 2. However many spaces you move it in your divisor, you have to move it the same number of spaces in your dividend. So since I moved it one space to the right over here, I have to move it over here one space to the right, which takes 1 5/10 and turns it into 15. So now my new division problem is 15 divided by 2. Since I know that 15 does not divide evenly by 2, what I'm going to do is add another decimal point at the end and a 0, and then I can go ahead and divide like normal. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. When I subtract, I have 1 left over. Don't forget to put that decimal point up in your quotient, and then you can go ahead and bring down 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. When I subtract, I have nothing left over. So this is one case where you basically just move your decimal points over to create a whole number in the divisor, and then you do the same number of spaces for your dividend. In example 4 on your worksheet, you have 3/10 divided by 75 hundredths. So in this example, I have to move my decimal point 2 spaces to create a whole number of 75. Since I moved the decimal point 2 spaces in my divisor, I have to move it 2 spaces in my dividend, which would actually create 30. So what I'm going to do is take 30 and divide it up by 75. I know that 30 is smaller than 75, so I'm going to put a decimal point 0 after it, and I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal point that's in my dividend and put it right up here in my quotient. I know that 75 goes into 30 0 times. So the next thing I'm going to ask myself is how many times does 75 go into 300? You can think 7 goes into 28 4 times. So I'm going to do 75 times 4 and see if I get something close to 300 or even 300. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2, bring down the 0. 4 times 7 is 28. Plus 2 is 30. So 75 times 4 is 300. I'm going to put a 4 up here. And I know 75 times 4 is 300, so I go ahead and subtract. At this point, I forget about the decimal point. I've already placed it up in my quotient, and I have nothing left over. So, if I had 3/10 divided by 75 hundredths, I would end up with 4/10. Thank you for watching.